Before we move on, we'd like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, December 9th, 2024? Councillor Tetsi, Councillor Bassett. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes of the special council meeting of Wednesday, November 20th, 2024, minutes of the regular council meeting of Monday, November 25th, 2024. Councillor Ray, Councillor Papa. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. We have one delegation this evening is from BC Housing. Nanette Drobot and Ty Baker are here tonight to make a presentation regarding BC Housing programming, current projects, and the housing system in Cranbrook. Welcome, Nanette and Tyler. The floor is yours if you can hear us and see us. You online yet?
Tyler just joined, so he'll maybe just, if you start again.
Tyler?
Yeah, Tyler just joined.
Okay.
So as soon as you're ready, Tyler, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Let me just give one moment. My colleague Nanette Drobot will be here in 1 second. In the meantime, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me just pull up the presentation. Okay. Hi, Nanette. I'm just pulling up the presentation.
Can you hear me now? Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Can everybody see that screen?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so I'll turn it over to Nanette. Do you want to get us going?
So Tyler, when I look at that, it looks like it's, have you advanced those? Okay.
I have, I'm up the wrong slide. There we go.
There we go. Okay, now we're all ready. Everybody. I'm Nanette Drobot. I'm the Regional Director of Operations for BC Housing. It's a real pleasure to be here. And of course, we also have Tyler Baker, who's the Director of Regional Development for the Interior Region. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. The intention tonight is to give you a short orientation to who BC Housing is, what we do, how we work together, who we serve, and of course the various projects we have in community and specific updates, which I'm sure you'll be interested to know. I'm going to talk about more of the foundational content, and then Tyler will speak in the latter part of the presentation to the specific project details. So next slide, please, Tyler. So we call this BC Housing 101. And so for those of you who have seen this, who have heard this, forgive the basic sort of foundational content, but really we're just trying to get at the idea of what we're responsible for and what we do. In its simplest form, BC Housing develops, manages, administers a whole wide range of social housing options across the province. We do work with a number of providers throughout the province. I see in this star, there's 110,000 plus BC Housing households, meaning that we either provide direct subsidy or a subsidy to a nonprofit to assist those in communities across the province. And we serve a whole range of folks, from people at risk of homelessness due to various reasons for women and children fleeing violence, people with disabilities, Indigenous peoples and families, low-income seniors and families, as well as buyers of new homes. People don't sometimes realize that BC Housing really does that sort of market component as well, and affordable home ownership is also part of the continuum of service that we provide. Next slide, please. So how we work together. Of course, there's lots of pieces to how we work together to collectively to provide this community-based housing delivery model that we have. And you'll see on the slide that we do work with hundreds of housing providers. I think it is over 800, in fact, in addition to local government, folks like you who can assist with zoning, planning, providing equity, providing the strategy that you see in your community, you know best. The federal government provides some capital grants, some loan insurance. They're also a provider of some of our rent supplements as well, a partner in that. Obviously, the province, through BC Housing, we provide the subsidies and the capital and development related costs for all the projects. The health authorities is a critical partner in our various projects, especially with those sort of supportive housing and complex care, outreach. They're a very important partner for those health related services that they provide. And then, of course, our partners in the nonprofit sector. They're really, and well, as other community stakeholders that may not provide direct housing related services, but really have that social sector inclination and really want to see strong communities with housing for all, essentially. Next slide, please. So this is a housing continuum that we, I'm sure many of you have seen this slide as well. It really tries to outline sort of the whole suite of where we can help as BC Housing, just in terms of the where we sort of action our housing program. So on the left-hand side of that continuum, it's more around addressing homelessness, really looking at that core housing need in community, and then it goes all the way through. So housing with supports, then social housing, of course, rental assistance. We like to leverage the private market as much as possible, knowing full well that we can't build for the need. And so we need to really lever the private market to support sort of people who have that financial need in particular. So the Safer Rent Supplement is a good example of levering the private market. The RAP grant for families, working families, is another opportunity in the private market as well. And then you have affordable rental housing, which is that low-income housing for families and seniors, and then that affordable home ownership on the very right-hand side. The other thing to note is that the current sort of programs that we have, the Community Housing Fund and the Indigenous Housing Fund, they're really earmarked for the sector to come forward with, the nonprofit sector, and sometimes municipalities as well. And so we really encourage a strong partnership with your nonprofit sector, so that you know maybe what land availabilities that they have, sort of their intention around who they want to house and what their projects are all about, because oftentimes those funding calls are really dependent on that nonprofit being ready with kind of a shovel-ready project, which really hinges on some of that municipality support. Next slide, please. So we always talk about the latest data related to the point-in-time count for each community, and this presentation is no different. I think it sort of situates some of the focus that we have as community partners and looking at your most vulnerable. So when you look at the point-in-time count, there are a couple of things I noticed, which I'm sure you have too, is obviously the increase. And we've seen this type of increase across all communities throughout the interior region, across the province, across the country. The other thing I noted about your particular point in time count was related to the seniors. You have almost a third of the population identify as seniors, as well as the Indigenous identity. It's about, we find it's usually between a third to a half of those people who are homeless who identify as Indigenous. So it continues to be something that we pay attention to and think about how our services can be delivered in a way that speaks to that Indigenous lens. Next slide, please. And it's over to you, Tyler.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we have a slide in here about your housing needs report. I know as council and in particular as part of the mayor's task force, which I joined the meetings of, you've really been focusing on understanding what your housing need is in Cranbrook and how you're going to do some of the things that Nanette talked about, identify opportunities, partner with the nonprofit sector, and get projects into the pipeline. So we don't need to spend too much time on this, but obviously there is a need in Cranbrook for all sorts of housing, and that those needs align with the funding programs we have. So BC Housing is here to work with you to get projects into those funding streams, and the next few slides are going to be about how we have done that and are currently doing that. So these are just 3 recently completed projects. There's a number of other projects that are older in Cranbrook as well, but the Victoria Gardens project, that's 20 homes for families. BC Housing is also involved in the capital construction for CLBC Group Homes. So this project on 11th Avenue, that's 5 homes for people living with disabilities, and we recently completed the Chief Angus McCoy Center with a Continuum. That's 39 homes for Indigenous families, elders, and individuals. So that's what's recently completed in the last few years. We have a number of projects in development right now. The second phase for that A Continuum project on Hurry Avenue was awarded earlier this year. So that's 20 additional units for that site. And then in the supportive housing and shelter side of the housing spectrum that Nanette mentioned, we have 2 projects that are progressing. The Cozy Bear Lodge, formerly the Lazy Bear, slight rebranding there, and then the shelter on 16th Avenue. So update on the Cozy Bear. The renovations are expected to begin next year in the spring. We're just finalizing the design, the procurement, working with the general contractor. And once it's actually going, the renovations aren't going to be that extensive. We expect it to be opening spring, summer, so call it mid next year. And this will provide housing with support services such as meals, referrals to health and community support. So, individual rooms, so people have some level of independence, but really it's still a motel. So people are, accessing a meal program that the operator is providing. And, where there's other needs to get into more permanent housing, that's really the role of the operator to provide those supports to people who are at this site next year. And then the second project we'll talk about is the shelter project. I know this has been, in the works for quite a long time. We are continue to make progress. We're working really closely right now with your building and planning departments on finalizing the permits and the timeline. The construction here also expected to continue. We just got some pictures from site today. They're working on framing, the rough in for the plumbing and electrical. So real progress being made there. And we expect late spring, the renovation to be completed, and then occupancy again, late spring, early summer for this one. So those are the projects we have in the works. The new project, A Continuum project on Hurry Avenue, that one's at an earlier stage. It's really at design. We're working with the applicant on what that will look like, and we'll move that forward. So construction and moving in, a few years out still, but working in the earlier phases of that one. So that's our presentation. We wanted to spend most of the time with questions, or open it up to you all what you want to speak to us about.
Okay, Council. No, Councilor Stetsky.
Thank you, and thank you for the presentation, and thank you for the work that you're doing in Cranbrook. It's very much needed. Looking ahead to the future, I'm wondering whether you have any thoughts or plans around transitional housing, kind of that space between people living in shelters and then people living in what hopefully be more permanent accommodation in the future.
I can answer that, Tyler, if you want me to. Yes, great question. And of course, strong communities have a continuum of housing so that people can move through. And it's not always linear, but you like to provide opportunities for people to move from shelter into a more independent site, but still have a measure of support so people won't get tipped back into homelessness. So it's that supportive housing option, and that's really what we've been looking to do in Cranbrook, is really provide more supportive housing to really introduce flow into the shelter. We don't want to have people languish in the shelters, and we want to see them move into more permanent housing that gives them dignity and respect, and they pay rent, and they have access to some supports that will assist them with living independently, and then maybe moving into something even more independent, into the private market or in another subsidized unit that is just a financial sort of need as opposed to any measure of support services. So that's always the want and desire, and working with you to ensure that we can actually make that happen.
Thank you. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm curious, are you seeing success stories in other communities, or other communities, taking steps that Cranbrook is not to help develop housing? Just wondering if there's anything that we should be taking as an example and trying to piggyback after. Yeah.
I mean, the main thing that I can say is, having a regular and very clear relationship with us at BC Housing and your staff, and that definitely exists. We know who to call, they know who to call at BC Housing, and that's how we're going to be able to identify opportunities and match those to the needs in the community. Like Nanette said, you guys know what is happening on the ground in Cranbrook, and identifying those and putting them together in a way that we can fund is really how projects are going to get off the ground. One of the constraints in our in getting new projects off the ground often is operator capacity. So some of the work that is being done out of the Mayor's Task Force, I think, is really trying to weave together that nonprofit sector and other people in the social services and things who may not be providing housing yet, who may be interested in it, and informing them and getting people on board with how to get housing off the ground. So that kind of work is really key, and you're doing it already.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. One quick question, and something that I always wonder is, at what point do we involve private sector in helping meet these needs? I know a lot of the grants and a lot of the funding opportunities are all reliant on a nonprofit, but as we see capacity issues, when do we look at private sector to meet these needs, and how do we move that message forward that there could be an opportunity along that line, whether a pilot project or something else with private sector?
Yeah, for sure. And it's, we need to be moving in all of these directions at the same time, which can be, quite challenging. The shelter, something like the Cozy Bear, family housing, and market housing at the same time, right? So we have a program called BC Builds, which partners with for-profit developers. We provide low-interest financing, and it allows private sector developers to build in a little bit of affordability into their projects and make them more viable. So where they might have been a little bit shaky before, we come in with that low-interest financing and possibly even grants to make the project work. So if there's a project or a developer in Cranbrook that is interested in talking to us about that, send them my way. We can start those conversations.
Thank you very much. Further? Nothing? Well, thank you very much, guys. Nanette, Tyler, We really appreciate all your efforts. I certainly sense, in the last year and a half, the relationships are getting stronger here, and we really appreciate your commitment to the city of Cranbrook and the way you've been working with our staff. So it's very much appreciated.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having us.
Okay, guys, take care.
You too. Bye.
Moving into bylaws. First bylaw for consideration tonight is from Public Works regarding cemetery bylaw number 4170/2024. This bylaw is back tonight for adoption. Can I get a motion? The council adopt cemetery bylaw number 4170/2024. Mover, please. Councillor Bassett, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Next bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding the City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024. This bylaw is back before council tonight for second reading. Can I get a motion that council give a second reading to City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our path to Cranbrook 2042, bylaw number 4174/2024. Schedule a public hearing from 6 o'clock p.m. on January 13th, 2025, and refer the OCP to the Advisory Planning Commission for recommendation. Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Popoff. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next bylaw for consideration is from Finance regarding the monthly pre-authorized tax payment plan. Repeal bylaw number 4175/2024. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. We have Charlotte here to give us overview of the report.
Thank you, Mayor Price, Council. So this bylaw is to repeal existing bylaws that have governed the monthly prepayment plan since sometime in the 80s. At that time, a bylaw was required to host a monthly prepayment plan. That is no longer the case. So we will be repealing the original parent bylaw and the two amendments in order to eliminate the interest that is currently being paid on tax prepayments. This was discussed by council at a previous council meeting, and direction was given through to staff to bring this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to monthly pre-authorization tax payment plan repeal bylaw number 4175/2024? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give second reading?
Sorry, Mayor, I did have a question.
Oh,
Yeah, thank you. Charlotte, really quick here. Obviously, the city now will be gaining interest on the prepayments from for property tax. One of the big expenses that the city has as well is just grants to nonprofits. Would it be wise of us to fund the grants for nonprofits with the interest made from the prepaid tax? And then that would be a good way to dictate what our budget is each year. So if we have a year where we're making more interest in the tax prepayments, we can donate more to nonprofits, and vice versa. If we're not making that much on tax prepayments, no, we don't have as much of a budget for the nonprofits in the community. Just kind of throwing this at you, a bit of a curveball. Just wanted to get your thoughts.
Through Mayor Price to Councillor Peabody, just off the top of my head, a couple of problems with that is it would probably cause quite a lot of, it would make it difficult for the not-for-profits to manage if the funding fluctuates so significantly. And when I say so significantly, that's really only something we've experienced in the last few years. Just as a point of interest for council in term of a little bit off topic, Councillor Peabody, Councillor Peabody, is that if prime goes below 3%, we wouldn't have been paying any interest to on prepayments anyway, because the rate that we would pay is only if prime is above 3%. So it's only just recently that it's become an issue at all. So back to your question, we currently have a pool of money set aside for grants to organizations. That pool has been capped to 1% of the prior year tax levy, less the road dedicated tax increase. So it is being managed in that way. It does provide a consistent amount of funding. So that would be my worry. And also, I feel like it introduces, quite frankly, some complexity into managing that grant program that currently doesn't exist. So I think that would conclude my comments.
Can I get a motion that council give second reading to the monthly pre-authorized tax payment plan repeal bylaw number 4175, 2024? Councillor Ray, Councillor Graham. Discussion, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to monthly pre-authorized tax payment plan repeal bylaw number 4175, 2024? Move replace Councillor Popoff, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. The next bylaw for consideration today is also from Finance regarding solid waste and recycling and collection and disposal amendment bylaw number 4176, 2024. Spies before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. Can I please have staff give an overview of that?
Thank you, Mayor Price. Through to council. So the amendment bylaw proposes an increase for 2025 of the collection portion from $8.50 to $9.50 a month, and the landfill portion from $10 to $10.50 a month. The landfill portion is a requisition from the regional district. So that particular requisition has increased for 2025 and to so much so that the small supplement that it was providing, or subsidy, pardon me, that it was providing to the collection side of that particular ledger has been eroded. And so now that's the reason for both of the fees going up. We need a small bump to the requisition to pay the requisition from the regional district. And then now we need to increase the collection fee $1 a month. This has been, we've spent a little bit of time on this particular service, this utility, to balance it out, because it has been out of balance for a couple of years. And a few years ago, we did a big balancing across all the utilities. So it's just a little bit more tweaking. And as I said, now we've seen an increase in the requisition from the regional district that makes it so that we really have to finalize this balancing. And that's what the bylaw is for tonight. So the other thing I guess I would add is that this is what you will see in the budget documents for the utilities when we start those meetings Wednesday and Friday.
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to solid waste and recycling collection and disposal amendment bylaw number 4176, 2024? Mover, Councillor Popoff, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Popoff.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. The rates are showing as being consistent 2025 through 2028. That is just kind of speculative at this point. It could go up if we get charged more.
That's correct. Yeah. So this is based on what we know today. And of course, things could change by the time we get further out into the 5-year plan.
Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thank you. So I'm just curious, in the alternative, it says, do not increase monthly user fees and direct staff to bring back recommendations for service level reductions. So to save $1.50, what would those service levels reductions be?
I do not have the expertise to answer that question.
Or was it, I mean, there's, to save $1.50, what are we going to do? Not collect that on a weekly basis and a 2-weekly basis, or?
I suppose, to be quite honest, it's so I don't say that you have no alternative.
I kind of thought that
Yeah.
was the answer. Thank you for your honesty.
Thank you for the clarification. Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion? The council give a second reading to solid waste and recycling collection and disposal amendment bylaw number 4176, 2024. Mover, please, Councillor Stetsky. Councillor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion? The council give a third reading to solid waste and recycling collection and disposal amendment bylaw number 4176, 2024. Mover, please, Councillor Ray. Councillor Popoff. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Next bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding business license amendment bylaw number 4177, 2024. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading as well. We have staff. L9. Yep. Paul's with us here tonight. Welcome, Paul.
Hello?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Well, just after some review, we went through the prompt payment discount that we offer. We've offered it for a good 20 years now. I'm basically in a comparative with other similar cities to Cranbrook, and then also local cities to Cranbrook. We found that our business licenses without the prompt payment was still on par. So we would like to rescind the prompt payment, and that would also bring back $37,000 and $500, $37,000 back towards the city.
Thanks very much, Paul. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to business license amendment bylaw number 4177, 2024? Mover, please, Councillor Graham. Councillor Peabody. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to business license amendment bylaw number 4177, 2024? Mover, please, Councillor Popoff. Councillor Bassett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to business license amendment bylaw number 4177, 2024? Mover, Councillor Ray. Councillor Bassett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. The final bylaw for consideration tonight is from Finance regarding utility rate penalty deferral penalty bylaw. Pardon me. Regarding utility rate penalty deferral bylaw number 4178, 2024. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. Can I please have staff provide an overview of this report?
Thank you, Mayor Price. This report comes forward for council's consideration due to the postal strike. So the utility bills are due on December 31st. The utility bills have not been mailed. They have all been uploaded and are available online. We are planning a communication out to residents on how they can access their utility bill. We are, of course, available by telephone, in person. However, having said that, there are a number of people who rely on receiving their utility bill in the mail. and that's serving as a reminder to them that the bill needs to be paid. What council is, or what staff is proposing, pardon me, is that council consider deferring the application of the penalty to January 15th. That's 2 additional weeks that folks would have to come in and pay their the balance outstanding on their utility accounts for December 31st.
Thank you, Charlotte. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to utility rate penalty deferral bylaw number 4178, 2024? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. Councillor Graham, Councillor Peabody. Or Councillor Graham, Councillor Papa.
Just an observation. It's interesting what starts to happen when mail service goes down for multiple weeks at a time. You don't really think about it, and then you start seeing things like this with government and mailings that need to happen. Really kind of changes things up.
Councillor Popoff.
Thank you, Mayor. So I like that we're picking a date, and what if the postal strike is still on? Paying these bills are not on the forefront of people's minds. So should we not make it until a week after the postal strike is resolved? Or we'll be coming back on January 15th and saying, well, the strike is still on, we should probably defer it again. I don't know, just a thought.
Councillor Popoff through Mayor Price, I wouldn't recommend that. It could defer it into perpetuity, so that's probably not wise. There will be a lot of, it's primarily the Christmas season that, everyone is so busy with so many other things that it's highly likely that if this doesn't land on your doorstep in December, you're not going to remember to pay it in December. We'll have plenty of voices out there, social media, whatnot, to let people know that by January you have to pay. So, there is still an expectation that folks be aware that your utility bill does need to be paid, and a grace of 2 weeks is over the Christmas holidays is probably sufficient.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council gives second reading to utility rate penalty deferral bylaw number 4178, 2024? Mover, please. Councillor Bissett. Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give a third reading to utility rate penalty deferral bylaw number 4178, 2024? Mover, please. Councillor Peabody, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And can I get a motion that council authorize staff to issue a news release outlining bill retrieval and payment options, as well as deferral of the penalty to January 15th, 2025, immediately following the 3 readings, but before the adoption of the bylaw? Mover, Councillor Ray. Councillor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving into new business. First item of new business is from the mayor's office regarding the 2025 acting mayor appointments. Can I get a motion that council approve the following schedule for the 2025 acting mayor appointments during the absence, illness, or other disability of the mayor? February and July 2025, Councillor Bissett. March and August 2025, Councillor Graham. April and November 2025, Councillor Peabody. May and October 2025, Councillor Popoff. June and December 2025, Councillor Stetsky. And September and January 2025, Councillor Ray. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. Everybody's happy? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That's carried. Next item of new business is also from the mayor's office regarding 2025 committee appointments for council. Can I get a motion that council appoint as non-voting members, Councillor Wesley Graham and Councillor Lynette Ray as council representatives to the Advisory Planning Commission for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in December 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Blissett. Councillor Popoff. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council appoint Councillor Wayne Stetsky as representative of the council to the Cranbrook Public Library Board for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in December 2025? Mover, Councillor Peabody, Councillor Blissett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council appoint Councillor Mike Peabody as representative council to the Cranbrook History Centre Board for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in December 2025? Mover, Councillor Popoff, Councillor Graham. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that council appoint Councillor Wayne Stetsky as representative of the council to the Community Social Planning Society of Cranbrook and area for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in 2025? Mover, Councillor Ray, Councillor Stetsky. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that council appoint Councillor Mike Peabody as representative of council to Cranbrook and District Chamber of Commerce for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in December 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Graham. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that council appoint as a non-voting member, Councillor Ron Popoff to the Cranbrook Tourism Society Board for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in December 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion? The council appoint Councillor Wayne Stetsky to the Ktunaxa-Kinbasket Treaty Advisory Committee for a term expiring at the organizational meeting in December 2025. And further, the council appoint Councillor Norman Blissett to the Ktunaxa-Kinbasket Treaty Advisory Committee as an alternative for a term expiring at the end of the organizational meeting in 2025. Mover, Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. All righty. The next item of new business is also from the mayor's office regarding appointments to committees for the 2025 public at large. Can I get a motion that council appoint Doug Newberry to the Advisory Planning Commission as a representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring on the organizational meeting of council in December 2026, and further that council appoint Bruce Murdoch to the Advisory Planning Commission as a representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring at the organizational meeting of council in December 2026. And further, the council appoint Petra Kovarikova to the Advisory Planning Commission as representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring at the organizational meeting of council in December 2026. And further that council appoint Maeve Scannell to the Advisory Planning Commission as representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring at the organizational meeting of council in December 2026. Mover, please. Councillor Peabody. Councillor Blissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that council appoint Sam Farrell to the Cranbrook Public Library Board as a representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring at the organizational meeting of council in December 2026, and further that council appoint Emily Pellard to the Cranbrook Public Library Board as a representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring at the organizational meeting of council in December 2026. And further, that council appoint Sheena Rivers to the Cranbrook Public Library Board as representative of the public at large for a 2-year term expiring at the organizational meeting of council in December 2026. A mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Graham. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Next item of new business is from Corporate Services regarding the 2025 regular council meeting dates. Can I get a motion that council approve the following 2025 regular council meeting dates? January 13th, 2025 and January 27th, 2025, February 10th, 2025, February 24th, 2025, March 10th, 2025, March 24th, 2025, April 7th, 2025, April 28th, 2025, May 12th, 2025, May 26th, 2025, excuse me, June 9th, 2025, June 13th, 2025, July 14th, 2025, and July 28th, 25. Excuse me. September 8th, 2025, September 29th, 2025, October 6th, 2025, October 2025, November 3rd, 2025, November 24th, 2025, December 8th, 2025 will be the organizational meeting. Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Graham. Discussion? Councillor Stetsky.
I may have misheard, but I thought you said June 13th rather than June 23rd. So I just want to make sure.
Sorry?
I believe I heard you say June 13th rather than June 23rd, and just wanted to make sure we're
I got
having
June
it.
9th and June
June
23rd?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah. Anything else? No? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Graham, for not asking me to repeat that again. The next item of new business is from Engineering and Development Services regarding the City of Cranbrook Interim Housing Needs Report. Can I please have staff provide an overview of the report? We have Mike and Rob.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So this report is being brought to you to ensure compliance by the January 1st, 2025 date that was established under the new legislation for all the housing stuff that came down the pipe this past year. And one of the main requirements was that municipalities do an interim housing needs report. If you recall, the original housing needs report we did was at the direction of the province back in 2020. The one that we've often been referring to lately was in 2023, and that was one that the city did on our own. And so since the change of legislation with all the housing initiatives, this interim housing needs report was one of the components that we were required to meet. And then, so in addition to this one, we'll have to start doing them every 5 years. But this one is a little bit different in that the province created a tool to make it a little bit easier for us to do these assessments, and it's the HEART tool. So there's a link noted there, and it's broken down by community. But the primary goal of the housing needs report is that they were required to have the report to meet the current anticipated needs for 5 and 20 years using this new methodology in accordance with the regulation. We have to have a statement about the need for housing in close proximity to transportation infrastructure that supports walking, bicycling, public transit, or alternative forms of transportation, and a description of the actions taken by local government since receiving the most recent housing needs report to reduce housing needs. And one of the other major components was that the new housing needs report had to address certain criteria, or at least the needs for certain criteria, that being supply of units to reduce extreme core housing need, supply of units to reduce homelessness, supply of units to address suppressed housing formation, the needs to meet growth for 5 and 20 years, Supply of units needed to meet at least a 3% vacancy rate, and supply of needs to meet local demand. And so before you attach to the staff report is the interim housing needs report that we prepared at the staff level that takes the required information from the HART tool and breaks it down for council, in that it's using BC stats information. It's a little bit different where we've previously used StatsCan. And so what this tool has calculated for Cranbrook is that the anticipated need for housing for the next 5 years is 1,262 units, and the 20 is 3,650. So you'll see it's a little bit different than the 2023 numbers. And so the table below in the report is the table that I extracted from the report that's attached as an appendix to this report that we prepared, that breaks it down by all those different categories. And then, of course, we have policy, the component that speaks to the housing in proximity to transportation. And so what we did there is we summarized, for the purposes of this report and for council and the public, all the current policies we have proposed in the OCP and other documents that support housing in those locations with respect to transportation infrastructure. And then lastly, the housing actions since receiving our housing needs. And you can see there, the city of Cranbrook has actually done quite a bit of work in the past couple of years. There's 10 different points that we've listed. And so in order to meet the requirement, we recommend that council accept this report as both an addendum to our 2023 housing needs report, which is the one that we commissioned, but also the 2020, just to ensure that both reports are covered. And it just provides a much clearer picture. And then later next year, if all goes well, once we have the OCP adopted, we'll be cracking it open to amend it to insert this interim housing needs report and any policy changes, map changes that might be required to ensure that it's recognized in accordance with this requirement.
Thanks very much, Rob. Then I get a motion that council accept the City of Cranbrook Interim Housing Needs Report, December 2024, as an addendum to the city's 2020 and 2023 housing needs reports, and further that interim housing needs report be published to the city's website for public review. Mover, please. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So this fulfills that last requirement, Rob, from the OCP around housing?
Second to last. We still have to amend our OCP by the end of 2025. So December 31st, 2025 is the deadline to amend any policies and zoning bylaws.
Councillor Graham.
Thank you. I got a couple quick questions here. I see Mr. Matika sitting there in that dashing jacket. I'm just wondering if we have any, off the top of your head, Mike, if you have how many units have been built in Cranbrook in the last 10 years, just as a relation to, is like our 5-year needs 1,262. I don't think we built that in 10 years. I'm just curious, like, how do we achieve that when we haven't hit that number in the past? Does the province give any kind of idea around that, or do you have an idea of what we've done?
Councillor Graham, through the mayor, that is a great question. I don't have that information off the top of my head. I do apologize for that. But what we've done as staff, as we've talked about some of the projects that we do have in the queue as far as multiple stages in the development process. We brought that information to council in the past on updates. Now what we're looking at doing is being able to bring those updates forward and then have some comparisons to these targets and look backwards and look at projections to see where things are actually going, to actually have a more tangible and tactile perspective of where we're getting. And that will also look at previous trends of what housing that we've brought online and where does it actually fit within the housing continuum that's brought up in this report. So our intention is we're gathering that information right now. We're trying to get more recent updates, even if it's not firm or final from some of the developments and developers that we're working with. And the intention is in January, ideal late January, early February, bring that to council to have that picture, to understand where we're actually going and what the pace of this is. And that will then help inform, some of those policies that we talked about earlier, I guess in the late fall, about what can we do to try to spur on the type of housing that is identified in this report. And then also look at what other tools or advocacy we have to get some of that housing that the private sector is building, but the public sector, as far as the nonprofits, are asked to, and then where can we look for advocacy from other levels of government to support us there.
Cool. And maybe another question. I'm not sure if Mike or Rob would have this one, but I know for a while we haven't been getting, there was like a 4 or 5 year, well, maybe 4 year gap where we weren't getting like current vacancy rates for Cranbrook. They were just kind of speculated. Now it sounds like we'll be getting vacancy rates again. Do you think we're going to be where we are? Like, I feel we're probably going to be close to that 3% now when we get a tangible vacancy rate. Is it CMHC that does that, or I think they're going to be counting this year?
Through the mayor to Councillor Graham, yes, the information comes from CMHC. In the last iteration, I believe we were just over 1%. So what 3% equates to in total number of units is based on this information. Again, the difference is that we've learned that using this HART tool, they're using BC stats, and a lot of our other information is from StatsCan. And through some of the learnings we did with respect to this information, the tools, is that for the 2028 requirement, they're going to start looking at trying to hopefully balance some of that data out, because you can see through the appendix, like, there's quite high projected growth rates for this area, which is substantially higher than I think we've ever seen. But until we actually get another census to see those hard numbers for population growth, it'll be different. It'll be difficult to balance that out, but I'm hoping that we'll see more of that data, and then we'll get a better picture of where we're at with respect to vacancy rate. The thing is, with the vacancy rate, I believe it doesn't really take into account income quintiles like our needs do. It's more just about how many units there are and what type. And typically in most communities, it's largely the market rent segment.
Thanks, Rob. Further? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. It's carried. Next item of new business is also from Engineering Development Services regarding the development variant permits located at 500 Hurry Avenue Northwest and 600 5th Street Northwest. Can I please have staff provide an overview of the report?
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Welcome, Santana.
So tonight I present Council with a development variance permit request to vary the requirements for offsite upgrades and road improvements that are outlined as service level 1 in the subdivision and development servicing bylaw. This application is specific to 500 Hurry Ave / 600 5th Street Northwest, as it corners both sides of that property. This variance would facilitate a parent parcel subdivision, which is proposed to create 2 parcels if we did not require any of these offsite improvements. The intent of this subdivision would be just to prepare the lots for sale. There's no current development plan or building plan at this point, and the applicant has no intention of developing the site. The subdivision and servicing bylaw requires significant offsite upgrades and road improvements to be completed, regardless of the scale of the subdivision or the development plan. These items include items such as sidewalk installation, road pavement, and utility expansion. Based on the application and the proposal, staff have determined that it may be unreasonable to require these installation and the offsite servicing improvements at this time, as there's many unknowns. So while, in other words, I guess we could say we're not requiring them at this point, but we are suggesting to the approving officer that we require a covenant on title to restrict any further development until a further development plan comes forward, including any form of building permit and whatnot. So in a sense, we're deferring when these installation and offsite upgrades would be done.
Thank you, Santana. Can I get a motion that council approve development variance permits number 3090.0 20.2408 to vary the off-site servicing requirements for subdivisions in the City of Cranbrook Subdivision Development Services Bylaw number 3633, 2008, to waive the highway servicing requirements, including sidewalks, curb and gutters, street lighting requirements, and electrical and communication distribution systems for Lot 156, District Block 29, Kootenai District Plan 887, except Plans 2302, 15956, and EPP 27359 for the purpose of a two-lot parent parcel subdivision. A mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. Councillor Graham, Councillor Popoff, Councillor Ray.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think my questions were answered, and I will be supporting this. It's a way that we can see a subdivision happen, and then if it sells and goes to different hands, and they want to develop it with those letters on with the covenants there, then we can deal with any of the offsites needed. If it's just going to be a single family house, it won't be much. But if there's an opportunity for another complex or whatever, I assume that that we can do that. My only question is that we're fine to do this in the purview of the new legislation, so we can put a covenant, so nothing can be built on there. Like, is that kind of what we're looking at, and this new legislation affect that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Graham. Yeah, there's no restriction. The new legislation doesn't restrict any subdivision form. We wouldn't be imposing any form of building scheme or limitation on the density. The density would still stand as it is right now, which is R1. So there would be no issues with the new legislation.
Thanks, Santana. Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Santana, I'm looking on the map at the size of this lot, and without it being cut in half, it's quite a substantial piece of land. So I guess it's not for a single detached family dwelling, but more of maybe a small apartment complexes on each. And so I don't know if you can answer that or not, but the other thing I thought I heard from BC Housing talking about future plans for their supportive housing was 500 Hury Avenue. So is this the piece of land that we're talking about for BC Housing to start developing, or is that confidential?
Through the mayor to Councillor Popoff, sorry. There may be a misunderstanding in the addressing. I believe, sorry, this one might be, this one is, to my understanding, there's no current development proposal for this property. So there might just be a miscommunication there on the addressing. There is no development plan at this point. So while the new legislation permits up to 4 units per parcel, that could be supported at this point. Should a future development plan come forward to rezone or increase the density to something else, that would come forward to council at that time.
Thanks, Santana. I think Rob has a comment here as well.
Yeah, and just further to the question through the mayor to Councillor Popoff, the property that was mentioned earlier is the Aquatantanum property, so the Chief Agnes McCoy. And so that was the one that BC Housing indicated that grant funding has been awarded, and staff has been in discussions with them about that project. If you recall, earlier last year, we did the approval to remove the density restriction covenant. So that's that property. This is directly adjacent to it, but it's the Aquatantanum property.
So that's phase 2 of the Aquatantanum property.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you. Just a quick question. In terms of this variance, are there any risks to the city in terms of setting precedents? Do you have any concerns regarding that?
Through the chair to Councillor Ray, there are other examples of precedents where we've done this for parent parcel subdivisions in Cranbrook. In the same neighborhood, kind of down the road, it's been done, and it's been approved as well for larger subdivisions at a greater scale. So while we don't anticipate any risks with the scale of this proposal, as the covenant on title that we were recommending would be a way to capture these improvements that would, they will provide value to the neighborhood in the future. And the neighborhood plan does state that these are valuable elements. But at this point, we would see them as more of a detriment to the potential of the site, and maybe more of a waste of resources than they would be beneficial. So until we have a further plan.
Thank you. Further, council? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Final item of new business tonight is from Public Works regarding the RCMP building design. Can I please have staff provide an overview of the report?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. First off, just to let you know, I have Adrian and Ahmed, the architect on record and the structural engineer on record online, available to answer any questions if you have any.
Oh, great.
So background, a September 2022 engineering report has identified major structural repairs that need to be addressed within the next 1 to 5 years at the time of the report was written. Additionally, an RCMP department review has identified 23 security risks. Completing the design will enable staff to break down and cost components of the project more accurately, as well as allow for a comprehensive design. Integrity and quality of the design will ensure long-term success of the project. If the design is not complete, the team will disband, leading to higher costs and delays if the project is restarted. The design will also provide accurate costs budget so that we can go to alternate funding process. The project is currently well within budget, as design budgets are estimated at 12% of the total project budget. A more detailed completed project design will allow for accurate budgeting of the project. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Can I get a motion that council approve additional design funding of $150,000 for RCMP building to be funded from facilities reserve to ensure the successful completion of the final design? Mover, please. Councillor Popoff, Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just wanted to confirm that this design will be in phases, I guess, in terms of what are the highest priority and then so on moving down the line. Just in case there isn't enough money to redo the whole thing, we have a design that is useful for part of the project going forward.
Mayor Stetsky through the mayor, or Councillor Stetsky through the mayor. Yes, there can be broken out components of the project. There's an addition that can be looked at a future date, as well as some internal pieces, but.
Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. And that was going to be my question, is that if this design is done, can there be parts that get done and the rest, say, you know, if the, heaven forbid, the AAP doesn't pass, you know, we can still do a few things. It's not just a design that has to have all components done. So that was also my question.
Thank you, Councillor Ray.
Thank you. We've had a thorough report on this as well at our November 20th special council meeting regarding budget. So of course that information is available to the public as well. And in that report, we noted that, you know, currently the design is at 80%, but it is still 20% incomplete. And that, as per the report, there's little or no value in the plan as it currently stands. So to get the full value of the money we've already put into this and to have a useful plan, we need to spend this $150,000. We all wish we didn't need to. We all wish, you know, the RCMP building was magically up to date and met all the requirements and all the deficiencies could be addressed, but this is the reality of asset management. This is a building that needs work to be done, structural issues, security issues. So we need to get this across the line and spend this money and get a plan that is usable that can then allow us to move forward with next steps.
Thank you very much for that, Councillor Ray. Councillor Bassett.
Thank you, Your Worship. To Director He too. Have you been in discussion with the RCMP? Are they, I understand they could possibly pay for some of this. Is that so? And then is it okay that we go ahead and spend the money and then bill them afterwards? Or are there any procedures on, any information on this?
Councillor Blissett through the mayor. So to date, as I understand, the RCMP have paid their portion of the design.
No,
Uh,
no, they haven't.
Sorry, Tony. Councillor Blissett through Mayor Price. So no, they actually haven't. I know there was a lot of discussion back and forth at the November 20th meeting. This approval from the RCMP has definitely added complexity to this project. In March, we had almost assured that it was being approved, and since then that hasn't happened. Just in terms of how we would bill for something like the design that's already been done, we typically wait until the project is done and then we would bill them. In the case of the design work, it's small enough that they would simply pay it. If we end up going to out to borrow, and the RCMP does end up having approved the project and does end up funding a portion of the project, they would fund the portion of the debt payment equal to their share portion. So I apologize for all the confusion that was at the November 20th meeting. Amanda also had received a letter from the RCMP that we hadn't received yet, that talked about, we won't be advancing anything until we've decided that the project is, that we're going to be cost sharing. And it is a little bit, it's kind of multifaceted, because whether they cost share or not, this work needs to be done. And the cost sharing is out there because they have provincial members in our detachment. If those provincial members weren't there, this building would still need to have all that same work done. Cost sharing on RCMP capital projects has always been the way we've funded the work that we've done over at that detachment. When we refurbished the cells, the RCMP paid their percentage at that time for both of the refurbishments. So that's always the case, is that they pay their share, provided they have non-municipal members in the detachment, which they currently do. And if council remembers, what there was some discussion about requesting that the RCMP pay for support provided by municipal support staff and municipal members. Well, that proposal has gone to the RCMP and they're working on that, reviewing that. So all of that has led to a delay on the side of the RCMP approving the project. If the RCMP approves it, and the only way it would matter that the RCMP approves it is if the provincial members are still in the detachment. If they pull the provincial members out, we don't need the RCMP's approval, but the RCMP is looking for work to be done to that building. So of course, if there's an opportunity to cost share, that would be preferred, and we will continue to pursue that. However, that is quite frankly separate from the work that needs to be done to the building.
Supplemental to that, so the design that's being done is being done to RCMP standards, so they'll approve that? Like it's within their specifications?
The design is, so the RCMP have been involved in the design from day one.
Council Papa.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm certainly in favor of getting as much as accurate and close design and cost estimate as possible, so it can go to the AP. However, do we have to wait? Which comes first? Do we still have to get approval from the RCMP first, put it to APP? If that's the case and that's delayed, would our estimates and costs have to be revised and maybe design revised? And then we've wasted $150,000. And the original money as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Popoff, through the mayor. We at that time we just apply the known construction escalation costs to the project. So if it's delayed 2 years, we would look at the projections of a 2-year construction escalation.
And just a quick, and if the RCMP come back, we approve it under these conditions and there's an increase in the type of design construction costs, we just would build that in straight across just build that straight across as we go to the AAP process. I'm just looking at the what ifs and we're into it by almost $1 million now in design if we approve this, and then the what if it gets delayed or it gets interfered with by other levels. Sorry,
Councillor Popoff through Mayor Price, I'll take a stab at it. As Tony said, I mean, I don't know if this sits around for 10 years, which of course we're not expecting, but I have been told that it could be another year before the RCMP approves. And I would certainly not recommend that I mean, it's a little bit of wait and see, quite frankly, in terms of, is there going to be cost sharing on this? Because they're definitely looking at that. And the belief is that there will be some cost sharing, but it may not even be at the 18% that we're at now. So as Tony said, once the design is complete, if it is a year from now, Tony and his team would apply the cost escalation. And so the money spent on the design would have been sufficient and the cost would simply be escalated. Pardon me.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Tony, you touched on this, and just to highlight it again, the risk in terms of the current team disbanding. So if we're going to talk about what ifs, if this were to be delayed again, what does it mean if this team that has worked on this plan to date were to disband, and what additional costs might that mean for the residents of Cranbrook if this plan needed to be restarted with a new team?
Thank you, Councillor Ray, through the mayor. I guess the question is what parts of the team would be available? It could be they could still all be available, or but in today's job market, you see people moving around everywhere. So I think the risk is fairly high that we would not be able to bring the whole team back together. I'm sure NOR would probably be there and they could pull the pieces together, but there's no real way to determine what we can pull back together.
Thank you, Tony. So I guess regardless, council, they need the design to get a proper estimate for the project, or nothing's going forward. And secondly, it could potentially be out of our hands. The RCMP, the feds are going to do what they're going to do, and you know what? We're powerless. So there's not much more we can do other than when the day comes, if it's delayed to a degree that we can't afford, it'll be a scaled down project from the city side. Probably that's as good as I see it, right? We've got so many dollars now, and they delay it long enough that we can't afford to do it. Well, that's budgeting, and that's reality, because we know that there's a lesser, probably a lesser model out there if we chose to go that way, but it isn't ideal really for the RCMP being in there at this time. But if they're responsible for the delay, I guess we're just going to have to scale back if we don't have the funding available. Anyways, anything further? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, guys. Good conversation. And that brings us now to Mayor and Council's reports and inquiries. Let's start with Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Were we singing Christmas carols tonight? I couldn't remember if we were gonna.
No, we will wait. I think we'll wait for that for
Okay.
Friday.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
so-
Yeah, no, it was good to see a good crowd out at the Santa Claus parade. I was standing kind of
Yeah.
by Councillor Popoff there. And the weather held out, it didn't rain. So yeah, it was good to see that. And then I think most of us were ringing the bells somewhere at some point in the last week too, whether at the mall or at Save On Foods. So it's good to be part with that. So yeah, it's been a good week and another couple busy weeks coming.
Yep, it's getting busy. Councillor Popoff.
Yes, thank you. So even though there's snow and winter out there, I'm still getting complaints from the public about the lane painting on 14th Avenue in front of the Key City Theater and the high school and in front of the Boys and Girls Club and the Kinsman Arena. So I'm sure other council members are getting the complaints as well. We may need to think about some more sensible solutions so that it makes sense and hopefully no one gets hurt in the meantime. Thank you.
Engineers looking at that.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Councillor Ray.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely into the busy Christmas season. So the seniors' Christmas dinner at the Colombo Lodge was excellent. We had very good representation from council as part of the volunteer team there. Tons of volunteers and just such a positive event. So that was great on November 27th. The Christmas parade on November 30th. Thank you so much to JCI Kootenay for just doing an excellent job again, organizing that event. Always fun to participate in that. Great to see all the crowds out for that. Cranbrook Community Theatre has completed their 6th performance run of the Christmas Carol with their different guest actors every night. So I was very pleased to be one of those guests. They sold out all their performances, raised probably around $2,500 for local charities, the total from each of the performances. And certainly, yeah, just a great opportunity. So if anybody's looking to develop their teamwork or supportive feedback skills, they should consider joining community theater. The KISA hosted an excellent 5-on-5 soccer tournament this past weekend. Saw lots of kids there, kids from out of town. So thank you very much, KISA, for hosting that in the Dome. And then last but not least, Mount Baker's Wild Theatre has their Shakespeare in Love performance starting this Thursday at the Key City Theatre. Thursday, Friday, Saturday evening performances, and then a Sunday matinee. So certainly encourage everybody to check that out as well.
Councillor Brissette.
Thank you, Your Worship. One thing, I went today to get a coffee at Morcella's and they've closed. And I think it just highlights what a difficult environment we have right now for business in Cranbrook. And if people can think about that when they're doing their Christmas shopping to try to support local as much as possible, that would be good. It also just, highlights the importance of what we're doing as far as budgeting. Not that that was because, the reason for them closing, but it's one of the factors in having businesses be successful. And we want a vibrant downtown. And they were a really important part of that. So hopefully someone else will take it over and we'll still have that facility available for everyone. I was heavily involved in curling all last week. We had the 55 plus or seniors bonspiel Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week. And in addition to the regular play that is going on at the club, it's really busy. I know I was talking to the manager, they're booked up for Christmas parties through the Christmas season. And plus other people use the facility because of the size of the party room. It's a really good size for people in Cranbrook. So when I was there, the fly fishers were having their meeting, and I know a few of us are going to participate in the Kisa Bingo night because we have big plans on winning big there coming up. So anyways, a very vibrant club, and as particularly if anybody's listening that is new to the community, very welcoming. particularly in the 55+ league. Many new people come there and it's quite a social environment. We mix up the teams. If you're a new curler, we'll teach you how to curl. And we're all interested in growing the sport. So a very welcoming place in Cranbrook.
Thank you for that. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, two things tonight. First, I wasn't here at the last city council meeting, but there was a decision to turn off commenting on Facebook and Twitter posts just because of the flavor of the comments coming back. Just curious, with that decision, if we have either a disclaimer on our Facebook or Twitter page or on the posts, how our community can submit feedback on our social media posts. It seems like the community was pretty active and vocal in some of the things that we posted. And it'd be nice for them to have a clear avenue of like, oh, you have a comment, click on this link and send us an email or some way to get in touch either with mayor and council or the city itself. I think it would be a great idea. Other thing, on November 22nd, Cranbrook Tourism organized a evening downtown shopping event. It was the first one. I think it got pretty good response, but I think it could be made better if we correlate the downtown light up with the downtown shopping event. I think right now it might happen with the Santa Claus parade, but I don't know if anyone is aware or not. But Kimberly does a very successful version of this, where they have an evening downtown shopping event with the light up of the Platzel. It'd be great if Cranbrook could kind of piggyback on their success and do something similar. The downtown shopping is great for the community, and to have the light up go along with it will just get more people downtown.
Great suggestion, Mike. Councillor Stetsky, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. My councillor colleagues did a great job of talking about all the events in the last 2 weeks. So I'll touch on three things. First of all, CEO Furcho, I've had a number of inquiries in terms of what's happening with the college, the new College Road or College Street, where it hits 30th Avenue, just halfway up the hill from the Alliance Church. So if you could let us know, perhaps on the January 13th meeting, have a bit of an update in terms of where that connector is at, that would be great. Secondly, I was taking my daughter up to visit a friend in King Street a couple of days ago, and at the four-way stop just after the tracks, there were 4 RCMP cars, one at each stop sign, doing the seasonal check on drinking and driving. It was the highway patrol that were conducting the tests, and I thank them for being there. I was kind of concerned that with the staffing levels where they are, that maybe we wouldn't have our roads quite as safe as they should be over Christmas holidays. So I was very happy to see them there, and they said they will be out and about Cranbrook over the Christmas season here. So something to watch for and something to keep in mind if you are in your vehicle, particularly if you're looking to do some celebrating. They will be out there. Lastly, this is our last council meeting before Christmas. We have 2 budget meetings coming up this week, so we will be here. But for those of you who may not be, I'd like to wish those of you that celebrate a Merry Christmas, and happy holidays to everyone else. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to thank all the applicants that applied for the city appointments. This probably, in my 6 years, this is the most applicants we've seen, I'm sure of it. And the applicants, the qualifications were probably as good as we've ever seen. So thanks again. You made it extremely hard for staff and the various committees to make those decisions. But we've got very, very strong committees right now with the people that are applying. So, I hope that people don't get frustrated, down the road. They never got in this year, we do these appointments come up every year. Stay interested and, stay involved in the community. It's really important. Secondly, speaking of our community, we have a young lady from our community, Ryan McKinnon, has signed with the Toronto Scepters of the Professional Women's Hockey League. She is, I think, believe the first person from the Kootenays for sure, I think, to make the professional levels. So congratulations, Ryland. Ryland has been at UBC for the past 3 years, and the years she's been there, they've been Canada West champions. So she's contributed. I think if you go and look at their record books, she's fit into the record books in a number of categories too. Great honor. And I also understand that she's one of only 2 that are playing in the PWHL that is still going to school. So she's going to university. I believe she's going in for medicine. So you know what? Good on her. And, you know, Cranbrook should be extremely proud. And yeah. So Ryland, congratulations. And we're with you all the way. Take care. And with that, that's all I've got. A motion to adjourn. Councillor Graham, Councillor Ray, all in favor? We're adjourned. Thank you.